Hi everybody, I am Shay Roberts and I'm running for State House District 52, which you are standing in my district. So it's Sandy Springs, kind of mostly west of Roswell Road, all the way up to Trowbridge, and then some of North Buckhead as well. So if I haven't met any of you that are in this district, I'd love to talk to you afterwards. I had never really aspired to politics, just was kind of angry. I have a 15-year-old daughter who I was getting worried about her future. The week before Parkland, she came in and described climbing onto a shelf in an instrument closet in her music class, and it was the first time I'd heard her describe an active shooter drill, and my breath caught in my throat. And then the next week was Parkland, and I'd received all these emails saying nobody was stepping up in District 52, and it's one of the top flippable in the state, which is fantastic. The numbers look great. Trump got 45% of the vote, even though Ossoff didn't win. In my overlapping precincts, he got 55%. Jen Jordan's, all of hers win. So it's completely flippable, and I just jumped in and said, I'm gonna do it. I'm a lawyer, I'm a small business owner, I'm a mom, and I need help, definitely. So anybody who wants to come out and canvass, we're knocking thousands of doors between now and November. It's my favorite part of campaigning, so I would love to have you guys volunteer and sign up. If you live in a neighborhood I haven't been in and want to host a meet and greet at your clubhouse, I'd love to come out and meet your neighbors. Those are two big things you could do for me. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, my name is Mary Robichaud and I'm running for the Georgia House for 48. So this is not my district, I'm just north of the river. I'm Roswell and a little bitty part of Alpharetta. Probably my seat has not been contested in about 20 years by a Democrat. There has been one, I take that back, but not really. It didn't go well. So Geisinger was the first one, but currently the seat holder is Betty Price. So that's who I'm taking on. So as you can imagine, it's going to be an interesting race, is what we're calling it. My background is healthcare management for 35 plus years, so I think I could take on a retired anesthesiologist pretty easily. So we're both quote unquote healthcare people, but definition of healthcare between us is very different. Again, what we're hearing about when we go out and meet people, again in my district, number one, when we knock on the door, the first thing we say is, oh my God, there's Democrats in Roswell? I don't know if the same for Sandy Springs. I mean, a lot of people are just like, they love that. They love that I'm not a politician like Shay, I'm not an attorney. I do have a son who's an attorney. But they want someone who's going to listen to them, someone who shares their values, and that we just want to make things better for everyone. The other thing is that they feel they're going to be given a choice. Because again, in my district, they haven't even had a choice. So they're very excited to say, we've got a choice to consider. So again, kind of like Shay, if those of you who do live in my district, I know there are a few people here that I know, same thing, if we're getting ready to gear up and kick off. I did not have a primary challenger, so we kind of stayed low-key because the incumbent did. It was the ex-mayor of Roswell, so that was also a very interesting race. So I kind of stayed below because they tried to pull me into the middle, and I chose not to go there. So again, we're going to be kicking off a lot of canvassing events and some other opportunities. We're having some meet and greets. I do have some flyers back there. I've already put out some things that I have 3 to 5 events a week of where people can just come and meet me and talk to me and answer questions. I'm at barber shops. I'm at coffee shops, and I am at places where you can have a cocktail with me in the afternoon. Okay. Obviously, with the name of Robichaud, I've lived in Georgia 30 years. I'm from Louisiana originally. Lived in the district in my actual home for 25 years. So obviously, cocktails and me, we do it. But yeah, so come and have some fun with us, but also ask questions.
Thank you so much. That is fantastic. Next, I want to push it off to a very, very special guest who we have joining us today. Today, I am honored to introduce Mayor Tomlinson, Teresa Tomlinson from Columbus.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you so much. It is so great to be here in District 6, I tell you what. I grew up in District 6. I went to Chamblee High School, grew up just off of Murphy-Candler Park, if you all know where that is. Went to Montgomery Elementary School. I've got my mom, Diane Pike, and my dad, dad, Bob Pike here, proud members of the 6th Congressional District, proud Lucy McBath supporters, by the way, and so is the rest of their neighborhood. So it's a blue wind that brought me here from Columbus, Georgia today. Columbus, Georgia is a blue county in the middle of Georgia. Don't forget that. There are blue counties all over the state of Georgia. We've bought in way too long to the propaganda that this is a solidly deep red state. That is simply not true. We have not been out there harvesting the Democrats that we need to be harvesting. And you in District 6 are the prime example of that. It does not surprise me that Mary and Shay and Lucy are finding Democrats everywhere they knock on doors, because the truth is, people just want good government. That's the truth. And now, particularly in this day and time, people are so desperate for it. They see the recklessness of the past, the recklessness in this over-tribalism that we've had, and where that has led us to this particularly dark day and some of the things that we're facing as a people. And that's why my husband Tripp and I drove 90 miles to be here with Lucy today to tell you the state is watching you in District 6. The nation is watching you in District 6. We have an opportunity to flip the 6th. Finally, after all that hard work you all did with John Ossoff, it's about to pay off. You tilled the field, you cleared the way for Lucy McBath, and we are so thankful to you all. Let me touch on what we need. What we need in today's time is we need a servant leader, somebody with a servant heart. We need somebody with a warrior spirit, and we find that in Lucy McBath. Lucy served as a flight attendant for many years, putting the safety and the needs of others ahead of herself. Then, of course, as a mother, putting the needs and safety of others ahead of herself, and had that heart-wrenching circumstance to losing her son to senseless gun violence, and then, with a warrior spirit and a servant's heart, turned that anguish into action so that the daughters and sons of others could be safer due to better laws and better policy. And then Lucy, of course, was fighting and conquering cancer, while her opponent, Karen Handel, was actually politicizing breast cancer cure. It is amazing to think that somebody could politicize and make a political football out of the Komen Foundation, but Karen Handel found a way to do that. Attempted to dye the pink ribbon that pulled us all together as one humanity to fight one of the most curable diseases that we have here today. And attempted to dye that ribbon red, really, people, and that's the type of divisiveness we do not need for District 6, and we do not need in Washington, D.C. Lucy is the antithesis of that. And we also had, just a few weeks ago, you may have seen, Lucy's opponent, Karen Handel, was presiding temporarily over the floor of Congress when Democrat Congressman Ted Lieu took to the well to bring to the nation's attention the tape of children who are being separated from their parents at the border, the children who are crying for their mommies and daddies, the little girl who'd been told by her mother, if we get separated, just remember this phone number, it's your aunt's phone number, just tell them, you know the phone number. And that little girl was sitting there like her mother told her to do, repeating that phone number so she could be reconnected with her family. That tape that connects us as human beings to the inhumanity going on by this administration at the border. And Ted Lieu said, we are an Article 1 body. We need to know about this as a people. We need to put a check on this administration, this inhumanity down at the border. And Karen Handel said, no, we prefer to lie in the darkness and the silence of what's truly is going on. Called the man out of order doing his constitutional duty. Folks, we don't need people like that in Congress. We don't need people like that in Washington, D.C. We need somebody with a warrior spirit and somebody with a servant leader's heart. And you find that in Lucy McBath. And so my message for you today, for Mary and for Shay, and most certainly for Lucy, is it takes coal to run a train, but it takes gold to run a campaign. And so these women have put themselves up there. These women have sacrificed their time and their family and their businesses to come forward and say, I will do the hard work to represent you. What's that worth to you? What are you willing to invest for that? So I ask today that you take literature with you, that you educate yourself as to these candidates, you educate yourself as to the strengths and the assets that Lucy McBath will bring to Congress for District 6, that you make your most generous contribution to her effort to do so, and that you spread the word. Don't leave here without volunteering in some way that is comfortable for you, because no one sits on the bench in this election coming up in November. We're all going to take the field. We're all going to flip the 6th. And your next Congresswoman from the 6th District of Georgia is going to be Lucy McBath.
Thank you so much, Mayor. That was fantastic. We are honored to host you today. And next, I would like to introduce somebody who sent us a video because unfortunately he's out of town, but our good friend Kevin Abel is sending us a video. There we go. So you're gonna have to bear with me on some of the IT here because we've been having issues with the speaker. But since, and Lucy can talk about this a little bit more, but since the election, Kevin has been phenomenal to work with, and he is really an invaluable part of our team, and we really, really appreciate Kevin. So I'm gonna go ahead and start our video.
Hi, I'm Kevin Abel, and I want to thank Lucy's team for inviting me to participate in this Unity Rally. I apologize for not being able to be here this afternoon, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to record this video and be a part of the rally all the same. So thank you, Lucy, thank you, Bobby, for being here, and thank you all of you for participating in the rally today. So last Saturday, my wife Cindy and I were proud to be a sponsor at the New American Pathways Gala, which was held at the magnificent Georgia Aquarium. So New American Pathways is a refugee serving organization who helps refugees settle here in Georgia and thrive. And I've been honored and proud to be a member of the board of New American Pathways for the last 7 years. Also, I'm proud to have introduced New American Pathways to my synagogue, Temple Sinai, who has co-sponsored 3 refugee families over the last 2 years, an Iraqi family named the Hamoudis, a Syrian family named the Albatars, and most recently a family from Burma, Myanmar, a Rohingya family that has escaped the atrocities in that land at this time. And during the last 2 years, I've been able to really get to know and befriend the Hamoudis and the Albatars, and be a part of their families as they've settled here in Clarkston, here in the Atlanta metro area. And I can tell you that these people, they've come from the most difficult places in this world, difficult lives, living in refugee camps, experiencing the war in Syria, the war in Iraq, and now they come to America and they work so incredibly hard for barely more than minimum wage, struggling with the language, but they're paying their bills, they're paying their taxes, they're contributing members of our society, and their children already fluent in English will be the future doctors and lawyers and teachers and soldiers and construction workers and social workers and entrepreneurs. Their children are the future of our country. And we should be so proud of our refugee program and the immigrants who contribute so much to this country. At the gala last Saturday, we honored Dr. Gulshan Haji. Dr. Haji grew up in Tanzania. Her family is originally from India, but they lived in Tanzania. And when Idi Amin came to power and there was strife in that part of the world, her family moved to Pakistan. And from Pakistan, Dr. Haji went to Iran, where she pursued her medical studies. And then Iran went through their revolution, and Dr. Haji was fortunate enough to come to America, and at the invitation of Dr. Lewis Sullivan, she became part of the first class of the Morehouse School of Medicine. And Dr. Haji completed her medical studies at Emory, and she has devoted her entire career serving the community. She co-founded the Clarkston Community Health Center, which serves refugees and immigrants and other underserved population in our community. Dr. Haji is truly a great American who has given back so much to this country that gave her so much. Dr. Haji is a Muslim American. Were the pernicious Trump Muslim ban in place 2 decades ago, Dr. Haji would not have had the opportunity to come to America, and America would not have had the honor of having Dr. Haji as one of its citizens. Donald Trump stirs up the hate and the fear in the dark part of the human soul. Karen Handel, in her acquiescence, is a co-conspirator in the unraveling of the fabric of American goodness. We are becoming a threadbare nation with leaders like Trump and Handel and other frightened Republicans complicit in their fearful silence. Future generations, children today and those yet unborn, are watching quietly from their perch, neither too innocent nor unsentient, so as to not subliminally sense the horror that is being perpetrated on their futures by those too unwilling, too afraid to lead. These future generations will judge harshly those who whimpered when the demand of American history was to roar. Karen Handel, your opportunity to stand out and speak out against the evil that emanates daily from this White House is over. It is time for the voters to stand up and roar. It is time for us to stand up in large numbers and vote these cowards out of office. Let's unite, we Democrats and American-loving Republicans. Let's vote for Lucy McBath here in CD6. Let's vote up and down the Democratic ticket and elect to Washington and to our State House true leaders with guts and gumption to do what is right for our society, to do what's right for America. Thank you again, Lucy, for what you're doing and for your team and all the hard work you're going through. Thank you to all of you who are here in support of the candidate in CD6 and the candidates across the state ticket. Thank you for going out and canvassing today. Go spread the good word. Thanks for having me. I look forward to seeing you again sometime in the near future. It's my pleasure to have had the opportunity to talk to you today. Thank you and good night.
And next, I would like to introduce another invaluable member of our team who I have had the honor of, while I've been on this campaign, working with him as well. I would like to introduce Bobby Cable.
Everybody, how you doing?
Great.
All right. Now, some of you may remember from our primary campaign that every time I come in a room, I would ask the folks there if there was anybody interested in replacing Karen Handel. I'm going to do the same thing today. I want to see a show of hands. Who in this room wants to see Karen Handel replaced? All right, great. Me too. Still, okay? Here's the deal. The primary is over, and the people have spoken, and they have made a great choice. Lucy McBath is a wonderful woman. She's a fighter. She is somebody who will not take no for an answer on behalf of these constituents. We have somebody right now who refuses to do town halls. We have somebody who is a lieutenant in Donald Trump's political army. We have someone who is okay with taking America backwards. She's not okay with that, okay? I want to take a moment to address another thing that's gotten a lot of discussion in the last few weeks, which is the voting systems. here in Georgia. Because I think it's important we talk about this. It's the elephant in the room that's now being talked about. I will tell you, on May 22nd, the day of the primary, I went to the polls, I voted, and I got my ballot. I had a few other things on my mind that day, but I got my ballot and I looked, and I had the wrong state house and state senate race on my ballot. Turns out, obviously I went on that night to have an election night, and it wasn't exactly what we had hoped for, but we had other things going on. About a month later, it started to surface that my wife and I weren't the only ones to have that issue. People in Scott Holcomb's district had that issue. I personally am in Brandon Beach's Senate district, yet I was voting in the Ellen Jaeger Senate district. Who knows how many thousands of people voted in the wrong race that day? It's scary in the sense of what that meant for our democracy in a primary. It's really scary in a general election. If they pack a few more people from Forsyth County, for example, in District 7 or one of the other districts that's a little more Republican, and have them voting in our District 6 races, that could be just enough to be a problem. Well, how do we stop that? We have to know that there's a paper trail. There has to be a way to audit the system. And right now there isn't. I have no idea how many people got the wrong ballot on May 22nd or in the runoff. Who knows? And now the gentleman who presides over our election system wants to be our next governor as well. There are a lot of issues out there. The one that was dear to my heart during the campaign had to do with healthcare and making sure people with pre-existing conditions were covered. I know Lucy McBath will protect people with pre-existing conditions, and she deserves a round of applause for it. Now, that was the reason I got involved. But I still want to see Karen Handel taken out in November in the voting booths, okay? Each one of you in this room is here for your own personal reason. I have mine, you have yours, you have yours. But we're all here because we care and we need to do something about the current state of our country. Now, I made a promise to myself that come November 7th, the day after the election, I can wake up and look in the mirror and say, I've done everything I can. I am asking you all to make the same promise to yourselves. Because I don't want another situation like we had in the Ossoff runoff, where we looked at the end of the day, and that was a terrible night, if you all remember it. But despite all of the crises going on in our country right now, I'm actually optimistic. And you might be wondering why that is. Well, there's two reasons. One of them standing right there, Lucy McBath. The other one is all the rest of us in this room. Okay? Now, we have an opportunity to do something special here in the 6th District this year. You're going to go out, you're going to knock doors in the Georgia heat, as we all have. You might do it today. And you're going to say, it's so hot out here. Could I knock another packet? Could I knock another door? And I'm reminded of 3 simple words that are familiar. Yes, we can. So I'm going to ask you some questions right now, and I want to hear your answer today. Will you go and knock that extra door today? Yes. Yes, we can. Will you help us go find voters who haven't voted in the past and get them to the polls this time? Yes, we can. Can we send a message that our country will not accept going in reverse? Yes, we can. And can we, the people of the 6th District, elect Lucy McBath as our next Congresswoman? Yes, we can. Get up here, Lucy.
And I must say, Mayor Tomlinson and Bobby, both you are the epitome of servant leaders. You really, really are. Thank you so much for being here and support today. It means the world to me. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited that you're here today. Thank you, as I always say. You could be anywhere else, but you chose to be here today, and I could not be more grateful for your support, and I feel lots of love. And I'm glad that you love Lucy. But anyway, if you were to ask me, and maybe some of you have heard me say this before, but if you were to ask me about 6 years ago today, would I ever be standing here before you as the Democratic nominee for Georgia's 6th Congressional District, I would definitely tell you, no, there's no way. But here I am. I was a flight attendant for 30 years for Delta Airlines, and I was just simply raising my son Jordan, and absolutely thinking about retiring at 62. I'm 58. But that's not going to happen now. I'm not retiring because it's not time yet. There's much, much work to be done. I was just simply raising Jordan. And then all of a sudden, on November 23rd, 2012, I got the phone call from Jordan's father that our son had been murdered simply for playing loud music in his car. And that night forever changed my life. I've never been the same. I never will be the same. I began really questioning how these kinds of tragedies could not only happen to my family, but how were they continuing to happen around the nation? And how many more children and how many more individuals were going to be needlessly killed, unnecessarily killed because of our extremist and lax gun laws. So I began speaking out, asking those very questions to our federal legislators, our state legislatures, and our civic leaders and national clergy. I have testified all around the nation at state legislatures. I have spoken one-on-one with our legislators and legislators in Washington. I became a national spokesperson for Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America and Every Town for Gun Safety. That is how my advocacy began, asking these very same questions. And I can tell you, I've walked the halls in Washington. I've spoken to both Republicans and Democrats. And then again, I've given my story. I've told everyone my story. And I began to notice a pattern. They would look me in the eye and they would say, "Oh, Mrs. McBath, we're so sorry for your loss. We offer you our deepest heartfelt condolences. But the politics is just not there yet." And hearing those words were just as devastating to me than the words that were spoken to me when I lost my son that night. And I assure you that I sat there each and every time thinking of all the children and all the countless numbers of people that would continue to die because of the inability of our leaders to act. And let me tell you,
GPS signal lost.
Not a smartphone.
but let me tell you, I don't think there's anything more powerful than a mother who has lost her child and fighting on behalf of the legacy of her child to make sure that it doesn't happen to the people that she lives among and works among every single day. And that is you. I will continue to fight for you because I want to make sure you never, ever have to suffer the way that my family has. So, what I begin to recognize is that, okay, our legislators weren't going to act. And I actually even sat and watched President Trump on television with all of our legislators that day that they were all talking about the NRA, even joking about the NRA. And President Trump made this statement, "Oh, you guys are afraid of the NRA. You can't be afraid of the NRA. Something has to be done." And I thought, well, maybe, President Trump was going to be about common sense solutions for existing gun culture. 1 week went by, 2 weeks went by, and nothing happened. So I decided to stand up because we have to be about the business of preserving people's quality of life. I'm also a 2-time breast cancer survivor, so I'm very, very concerned about the nature of affordable health care, and most specifically for women. We know the incumbent Karen Handel, as was mentioned earlier, has tried to defund Planned Parenthood when she was working for the Susan G. Komen Foundation. That is unacceptable. Very, very concerned about the state of what I call the tax scam. It's a Trump-handled tax scam. It hurts our middle-class families. It hurts our small businesses. It's going to add about $2 trillion worth of debt to our children, our grandchildren, that they're going to be responsible for. It hurts our small businesses and middle-class families. There are a lot of things that I'm very, very concerned about in this district, but what I will tell you is that a lot of my reality has been the same experience or reality I've heard people all around this district talk about. Maybe not gun violence, but I can't tell you how many mothers and fathers I've talked to who said, I'm so upset and worried about our children with lockdown drills in their classrooms. I'm so upset about them being on playgrounds, and I'm upset about us going to churches with guns, and people carrying guns into our places of worship, classrooms, playgrounds, stores. What do we do about it? And I've decided that I'm going to stand up against the very leadership that refuses to keep our communities safe, that refuses to make sure that we have affordable health care, that refuses to make sure that our children get a good global education so that they can compete. And that's the reason why I'm running. That's the reason why I'm wanting to serve you as a public servant, as they said, because we are all supposed to stand up for the least of these. And not even for the least of these, but to make sure that democracy works for each and every one of us. That's what we all deserve. And that's why I'm asking for your support. And for every one of you that has knocked on a door for me, or made a phone call, or picked up someone along the way, I thank you. All of the candidates here, thank you. Because we cannot win these races without your help. Yes, we did a phenomenal job for John Ossoff, but we've got to work even harder to flip these seats in the fall. And I know that we can do it, and that's the reason why we're here today. And I'm so excited that you are on this train. Let's win some seats. Let's get to work.
And now it is time to knock on some doors. Where is Chris Speed? He is our field director. Chris, there he is. He's waving his hand in the back corner. He's going to take it from here and we'll get set up. Thank you all so much for coming out.